All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm here with a band that is relatively new to me, and you guys have actually been recommended to me a few times, just sort of over the course of the past couple months. So I'm glad that we made this happen. I've been listening to your EP a fair bit lately, and I really dig it. And I have a lot of questions, but I think the best way to start this off, because we have so many people here, is to just if you want to introduce yourselves and what you do in the band, and then we can maybe go into a bit of history of the band and where this is coming from. So whoever wants to go first, just identify yourself, what you do in the group, and then listeners can put a name to the voice.
I'm Shane. I play the bass.
I'm Brian. I play drums.
I'm Mitch, and I'm the vocals in the band.
Gordon Heavy Foot. I play guitar.
Ugly Kid Joel. I play guitar, but my name's getting changed to Metronome Chomsky.
Very, very nice. Well, I mean, maybe that's a good place to start too, because the band has an amazing name, and I think that that kind of was what made me interested in the first place. Is the name is hilarious, the artwork is awesome on the EP and on all the stuff I've seen you post on social media. So what is the backstory here? Like, where does Manther come from? It's a great name, and I'm surprised it hasn't been used before as a band name.
It has been.
It has been. Okay.
Yeah, we're just usurping the many Manthers that came before us.
Oh, is it really like a popular one that's happened a bunch of times?
Yeah,
it's not a popular name, but don't tell anybody.
Fair enough.
It's nothing that's like too legitimate. So it's just like a bunch of casual like bands have used it, but nothing that have like album releases or anything that's like scaring us away from using it ourselves.
Right, you don't have to worry about the copyright trolls coming after you, or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
There's no one that's like been using it for years or anything like that.
Well,
it's like Highlander, right? That can only be one.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So what is the origin here? Like, how long has this been a band? Because it strikes me as being relatively new, but I realize we're in like a weird time period where there's a lot of bands that seem new that have actually been around for a while, but because of what's been going on the past couple of years, it's been difficult for anyone to sort of get started. So what's the kind of timeline here?
We are relatively new, but it's I'd say we started talking what about like early spring?
Well, it's like we got together with our current lineup in the winter. It was like around January. But there was like proto versions or different lineups and under a different band name that existed for a few years. Like me and Joel and Boiler's been playing for a few years now. So, but we had some lineup changes and then kind of rebranded ourselves into the current iteration that is Manther.
Well, and I guess if you started in January too, then you would have you kind of missed most of the really difficult times of the pandemic as far as being able to get together and actually, practice and all of
that. Me, Shane, and Boiler went through that. We were in a band called Avner before with Omar Kinnerath, who recently just he quit the band to follow politics, which I personally think more people should play in crossover bands if they're in politics. To make the debates a little bit more interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we had like a Spinal Tap situation with drummers for a while, but this current lineup, started about 10 months ago. Yeah. So but we did go through all of the COVID stuff except without Brian and Mitch. But we got to practice, got shows for the other band. Got canceled, et cetera, et cetera. We went. It sucked.
Yeah. Well, it sucked. No doubt. Yeah. I mean, everyone I've talked to over the past year or so has had kind of the same story, right? It's been just everything planned has been. You can't know whether it's going to happen or not. But things hopefully are happening a little better now that restrictions have eased anyway. And so, what's the I mean, I know you put out an EP. What was it, a couple months ago now? Were those songs that had been worked on like quite a while back, or is it all really new material?
Two of the songs were pre, and then I think the two we wrote after.
Okay.
We wrote as Manther, I should say.
Is this the the final version of Manther now that you have this lineup solidified? Is this kind of where you guys want to be as a band? I mean, I know you mentioned there was lineup changes kind of leading up to this point.
I think we're pretty happy. I think we're all, we all get along. We all like similar music. when it comes to writing, we all just get along with that aspect. We're open to it. We're open to talk about the writing. So I would say so.
Chemistry is where it needs to be now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you have that history too of a bunch of you playing together in the past, and I imagine that most of you have been in bands like for a number of years now, kind of leading up to this point, right?
We're a bit of a super group.
Well, what is it? Well, I often wonder if there's an actual definition for supergroup, because I mean, especially in Winnipeg, it seems like there's so many bands where every band is almost made up of like 3 or 4 or 5 guys from different bands who have been over the years. So I don't know, is there such thing as a Winnipeg supergroup, or is everyone just a supergroup?
Every Winnipeg band is a supergroup. Every Winnipeg band seems to be a supergroup.
Yeah, it seems like that. As long as people don't move out of the city, they end up involved in a supergroup. Yeah.
Very incestuous.
Totally, yeah. And especially, I feel like, especially with like within the punk and hardcore and metal and all those scenes that play any kind of heavy music, it's super incestuous. Like people seem to have been in each other's bands 3 or 4 times over like a 10-15 year period. It's crazy.
Not a small group of guys, right?
Yeah. So I guess what is it that works about this lineup and about this band that you have now? I mean, that sounds good on the record, but what do you think is kind of chemistry wise? Like, why do you work together as a unit?
Everyone's kind of here to have a good time, and that makes the primary difference, right? Everyone wants to have fun, and there's good vibes, and that's really when the creative process can actually happen.
There is very little animosity, or I should say there is no animosity.
The first couple of times we jammed together, I know it's cliche, but it felt like it was like, yeah, this is like we play well together. Kind of alluding back to the COVID, we did have some members that during COVID had mental health problems, or that already had them and they got worse. Yeah. And that, was a stressful time trying to practice with everybody kind of going through all of that. So now with the ease of restrictions and stuff, we seem to enjoy each other's company.
Probably good.
I feel that way even though he has a tree growing out of his head.
It does look like you have a tree growing out of your head. Yeah, for sure.
Like, I've had COVID, man. That's the only place in my apartment that's not a filthy mess, right?
We still love him. He actually has a tree growing out of his head.
One of the people who recommended you to me was Ryan Nash, and I understand that he recorded your EP for you. So
he did.
How did that go? Like, how did you get hooked up with him for that? Because I know he's kind of done a lot of that sort of here and there over the years with a bunch of different bands. But how did you? What was the experience like? I guess working with him. I assume you already all know him from the various incestuous bands that Winnipeg has within the scene.
We share jam space too with him.
Yeah, I've known him for over 20 years. Like, used to play like the Sunday when I was in a band called Intifada, which some people might remember. Yeah, and he was in other bands, and yeah, I've just known him for the longest time. And he was, he's a sweetheart, and he's such a phenomenal musician. You would know that he would put that level of ability into recording because the guy just absolutely loves music. So, and he gave us a bit of a deal.
Well, I guess it helps having someone who has that same kind of musical background too, right? Who kind of knows the type of stuff that you're doing and probably can figure out what sound you want better than someone who's coming to it cold.
Yeah, for sure.
He also kind of set us at ease. Like, it was really easy working with him. It took the stress levels down for sure.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Yeah. So what? I kind of almost hate asking this question, but I do ask it a lot. And it's where do you think that you fit in sort of within the local music scene? I mean, I know that there's like this umbrella heavy music scene, and that branches off into the hardcore scene and the punk scene and the metal scene, and that has another bunch of different branches. And I know you describe yourselves as a crossover band, which I mean, I feel like that kind of gives you little in ways into different subgenres. But have you kind of found like a place where you feel like you fit within all the other local bands here?
Not yet. We haven't played enough shows yet, I think. I think stylistically we have something to offer because we're a crossover band to the punk, the hardcore, and the metal community. I hope. Yeah. But yeah, we've mostly just played with Winnipeg or Winter City Skins and Punks so far, and that went well. And we all grew up, like, Boiler was more of a punk guy, I was a hardcore guy back in the day, and then, you know, Mitch is from a punk background. Shane and Brian are from more, I don't know what you call them, Nickelback.
Metal. What are you talking about? So?
Improv.
Improv.
He comes from a
you look at what you're wearing, man. You got to describe what type of metal you are, I guess, because I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's maybe something that for people who are hearing this in audio form, I mean, there's a very interesting costume going on here that I feel like it needs some kind of description.
That's a way of life, not a costume.
It's a way of life.
The suit stays on.
The suit stays on.
The suit stays on.
Because it's like one of those. It's like one of those weird costumes or way of life that people wear at sports and sporting events where they're all green, but in this case you have like some gimp elements to it, and there's like a cat motif going on. So is that the Manther sort of mascot there?
That's the Manther vibe, right?
Manther way.
It's the only way.
Do you actually wear that at shows and stuff, or is it just?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, he drummed phenomenally last time.
Doesn't get
an exact outfit.
It doesn't get like too hot or inability to see what you're playing.
It didn't miss a beat.
It's hot, but I mean, you got to sacrifice yourself for the art, right?
Of course, yeah, for sure. Is this EP that you have out? Is it kind of like a prelude to hopefully doing a full length, or are you just sticking with this for now as a release? Like, are you working on something in a larger scope?
We have new songs on the go, but I think we're undecided on how we want to release them yet. I think a lot of artists, especially these days, you know, they're doing singles, or if you like, even if you look at Weezer, which is a band that's not like us, you know, they're doing an EP every 3-4 months, right? I'd say it's undecided. We're still working on it.
It's a lot easier to put out an EP than a full length, so we might even just take the route of doing another EP, but time will tell.
Yeah,
I think we're taking it one song at a time.
Well, I think that what you said about the singles thing, though, is that it's kind of like that's almost what the thing is now, is that because everything's happening digitally, the way that, you know, even 10-15 years ago bands used to release music is totally different. But you're playing in a style of music where physical releases have always still sort of, they never really died, right? I mean, there's still always been tapes for hardcore bands and metal bands and CDs and records, but are you planning on releasing any physical stuff? Because right now it's just digital, right?
Right now it is. I mean, with Mitch's artwork, Mitch's artwork is insane, and I would love to see, you know, a full cover on a physical release. But it's hard to say. What do you guys think?
I know the boys want to do a 10-inch.
Yeah,
10-inch.
I was gonna say 7-inch. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Like, I think obviously, like you said, that's a little tip of the cap to Mitch and what he did for the cover.
It's a great cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm responsible.
What is the behind the cover, though? I mean, as far as the actual that whole like Manther imagery there, where does that come from? What is that, like, based on anything, or is it just all completely original?
I was watching the documentary about the art of Dungeons and Dragons a lot, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I like dungeon crawler games, RPGs and stuff like that, so I kind of took it that direction, like, just because it's a fun kind of nerdy metal kind of theme, which I thought I could like explore and have fun with. And the Manther, Manaconda, it's kind of like just playing with the name, and it was just a funny idea.
I thought you said it came from your loins.
What's that?
I thought you said it came from your loins.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
fire from below.
That's where most of my neurons are, in my loins. Very few in the top end. It's mainly.
Yeah, he said it was from the loins because he's now revealing to us on a live podcast or semi-live podcast that he's a huge D&D nerd.
Whatever.
But you play the right kind of music for that, though, right? I mean, that kind of, like, you know, kind of over the top fantasy shit, like, it works.
I think the line between cool and fucking nerdy has been blurred so much. There is no more line, in my opinion.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, well, and but again though, like I mean, that's the kind of artwork you would almost expect from a band, especially with a name like Manther too, like something of that fantasy epic sort of nature.
I always love bands that don't take them so seriously and can like crack jokes. I don't find it like lesser than or lowbrow. I think it's like it's hard to make people laugh. It's hard to have a good time, like especially in these times or any times. It's like some value to that. It's I don't know. I don't find it like degrading. I think it's good to fucking have to not take yourself too seriously ever.
Yeah. Well, and does that like? I know again it's a relatively new band, but you're probably going to be playing shows with a bunch of hardcore bands and stuff, and not everyone in that genre, of course, but a lot of hardcore bands have a reputation for taking themselves too seriously, and there's kind of this, there's the mentality that's associated with that genre that is like just super, everything's very important and serious. And are you cool with just being goofing around with that kind of stuff?
Shit too. It's like it's fine, it's great, but it's like I don't think I could ever do it. But it's not not for me. But it's like I love bands that do take themselves too seriously too. It's like I don't know. It's all game. I don't think I could ever do it.
Yeah, you know, we have a guy in a cat suit on the interview, right? So.
That's very true. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I'm assuming that this is there's some kind of humor element to what you're doing. I hope anyway, unless this is again it's the way of life. I understand the cat suit, but
it definitely sets us apart from other bands and kind of gives us our own vibe, and we're gonna bring the camp. We're gonna make it fun, make other people have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a cat masturbating right beside me.
And for people who are hearing the audio, again, it's literally a cat masturbating beside him. So it's some kind of weird.
That's duck feet. This is his blanket, and he gets down on
it. Making a biscuit.
You might say he's the original Manther.
Yeah, I did come up with. I did suggest the name, and I am a cat crazy person. So
that tracks in. Yeah.
There's the proof.
Yeah, you're not the one in the cat suit.
Yeah, well, cats rule.
What's I don't know how Mitch would look at like in a morph suit.
What's the plan going forward at this point now? I mean, I know you like you have this out. You said you're playing a few shows. Are you hoping to do more heavy shows locally, or are you kind of what's the next step for Manther?
We're doing like writing right now, but we also have some shows that in the future that we're in the progress of getting set up right now, and I think it'll be a combination of the two, right? Like flushing out our set list a bit, but also trying to get some shows down so that we can get our name out there a bit.
Yeah. It's I mean it's a good name, so you probably want people to hear it. What's the best way? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I would like to be playing as much as possible as like in the coming months, get that going, because you can only do so much just by putting it out and bugging people on the internet, right?
Yeah, I mean that works to a certain extent, but yeah, you definitely if you're not out there actually playing shows, people are gonna probably forget about it sooner rather than later. What's the best way at this point for people to hear your music? I mean, I know like you said, there's no physical copies out yet. Where can people find it online?
We're everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube in general. Look us up, Manther 666. You'll find us.
And then as far as finding out about upcoming shows and things that are going on in the near future, is there somewhere online they can follow you or keep track of?
Check out our Instagram.
Yeah, also Manther 666.
So you somehow taken the good name of Manther and added the 666, making it even better. Like,
well, it's good name, but it has been used before, but never by the devil.
Have you actually listened to the other Manthers? Like, are any of them any good?
No, not
good. One of them's pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. Actually, like they're like a backpack hip hop group out of Portland, and they have a rap song about the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, and like just it's I don't know. I gave it I wouldn't listen to it all the time, but it put a smile on my face.
You're not gonna cover any of their songs or anything?
That would be once they start finding out about us and if they mess with us, we'll start covering their songs.
Right on. And then just one more time, what's the name of the album? And like you said, it's available on the EP. It's available on Spotify and all the places people listen to music these days. Is it on Bandcamp as well?
It is not on Bandcamp.
Not on Bandcamp, okay. Because that's usually the one people recommend. Usually everyone's like, "Oh, go to my Bandcamp because I actually get money for that one."
We
We're not in
do.
it for the money.
Interesting.
Money, you say?
Yeah,
Money.
instead of 0.0002 cents or whatever. Yeah.
Well, we're
But-
waiting
Check out
on
Manther
we're waiting on
666
making our
on
big money
Instagram.
in India from apparently like we got one of the posts on our IG page got hit up with like a whole bunch of people with Indian names, and I'm not sure who told me, but someone was telling me that there may be like a pest control product named Manther in India.
Well, that's
we're
your sponsor right there.
Yeah,
Or
Manther.
no,
live from the
no,
Ganges.
it's a malaria shot.
Even better.
That's awesome too.
Does that mean something in whatever language, or is it like in English?
We don't know.
That's a good question.
Boiler, answer that.
I have no idea.
Boy, they've been quiet.
Yeah.
My non-English is not top notch, so
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're looking for Manther, don't get the malaria shot unless you're going to India, and then otherwise go to 666 and then check you guys out on Instagram and all the other various platforms.
All the streaming services.
All the streaming services. Awesome.
Bandcamp.
Except for Bandcamp.
And you had asked what the album was. It's Manther versus Manaconda.
Right, yeah. That very, very good title again with the good use of the name and yeah, Manther versus Manaconda. Awesome.